YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And we're going back to the 2014 NFL Draft. We did 2017, 16, and 2015. And I'm taking, in my opinion, the best players from each round of that draft. So we're going reverse order here. 2013 will be next. We'll see how long we can go here. Pretty fun videos to do. Pretty cool ideas here. But in my opinion, the best players from each round. This is a very interesting one. A few reasons why. Something very interesting in the first round, which we'll get to. And then a couple players from the same school. So we'll get to those too. Again, my opinion for the best player in each round. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. If you do, appreciate you very much. We have daily sports videos every single day, bringing you a video. We specialize in the NFL. We're going to cover the NBA draft, NBA free agency as well. Full NFL coverage during the year. I can't wait. First round, it's a really an obvious choice, but at the same time, it's not. That doesn't make any sense. But Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in football, maybe the best player in football, so that makes you say it's a pretty obvious choice because he has to be the best player in his draft. But then you have Khalil Mack, who is the second best defensive player in football. So I think you see what I mean there. And then you have Odell Beckham Jr. and there's some other guys we'll get to too at the end when we skim through the draft each round. But the most interesting thing here is the Rams. The Rams blew it, but they didn't. Because they did get Aaron Donald, who may be the best player in football with the 13th overall pick. That's a steal. So they didn't really blow it. They got Aaron Donald. But they also had the second overall pick and took Greg Robinson, in which they could have. I mean, easy to say now, but everyone had Khalil Mack higher on their boards. And the Rams have a hole right now. I mean, a different coaching staff, and it's hard to tell 2014 to now, but they have a hole at pass rush at specifically the outside linebacker position because they get pass rush just fine from the D-line because of Aaron Donald. Imagine if the Rams had Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack. Just imagine. Just crazy. Khalil Mack went fifth to the Raiders, now with the Bears, obviously. We'll skim through the rest of the draft. But Aaron Donald and the Rams win round one. Round two. Another great pass rusher, Demarcus Lawrence, 34 overall. One of my hits of the draft out of Boise State. I mean, he didn't right away, I guess, didn't really shine, but it took him a little bit of time. But you can see he had the talent. And obviously a great pick, 34th overall to the Cowboys. Another honorable mention there, somewhat strongly considered, was Jarvis Landry to the Dolphins, now with the Browns. I went with the pass rusher, though, but it's pretty close, I guess you can argue. In the third round, interesting third round because quite a few solid players, but nobody that's like Aaron Donald or Demarcus Lawrence. You expect a little better, a little flashier player in the third round because it is you should get a really good player. I mean, these are good players, but it's Preston Brown. Linebacker out of Louisville, drafted by the Bills, played pretty well for the Bills over the years and on the Bengals last year and this year, and then pretty much carries the linebacker load for them. So solid player out of Louisville, 73rd overall. Other options: Billy Turner, who's been a solid offensive lineman; John Brown, a solid receiver option; and Gabe Jackson, who's been playing well for the Raiders. So he had some options there, some good guys, but nobody that's really standing. I think Billy Turner can actually take it after we see him this year. But that's the third round. Fourth round, we got Devonta Freeman, 103rd overall out of Florida State. Very good pick. He's just got to stay healthy. We know he's one of the better backs in football if he's healthy, but still the best player. Another running back, James White, was drafted in the fourth round, but pretty clear-cut. Freeman was the better player, but if he continues to get hurt, maybe we won't consider him the best player from this round anymore. But 103 overall from Florida State. And then we've seen back-to-back Florida State players. Dalvin Smith, even though he's taken a year off, he's still been a very solid linebacker. 2 years ago, he played out of his absolute mind. 144 overall out of Florida State. Another good linebacker, Avery Williamson, who the Titans got now on the Jets, was considered here in the fifth round. But Dalvin Smith, as long as he comes back to football, he'll be known as the best player from this round right here in this 2014 draft. So back-to-back Florida State players. And now another interesting one. We got the Chiefs offensive lineman Laurent Duvernay-Tardif from Canada, McGill University, 200 overall. Nobody thought anything of him. I didn't think anything of him at this time. And then he ends up being a very solid offensive lineman for them. Also in the 6th round, Quincy Onwunwa, who's with the Jets, and E.J. Gaines, solid corner option there in the Rams and the Bills. And then we're on to the 7th round before we skim through the rest of this draft. With the 7th round, interesting because we had another Boise State player. We saw 2 Florida State players, and then we saw the first Boise State player with Demarcus Lawrence. Now we get another Boise player with Charles Leno Jr. from the Chicago Bears. He, a little quiet at first, and that's what you expect from a 7th rounder, but he's been playing very good for the Bears. Their left tackle, 246 overall, pretty solid draft. And to think the Bears have Khalil Mack, who was he was the 2nd best defensive player in football and the 2nd best player in this draft, and they also had Kyle Fuller from that 1st round, and they get another solid starter for them here in the 7th round, 246 overall. Also considered Andre Hall. I mean, it probably would have been Andre Hall if he didn't have the health concern. He had to step away from football. And then Shelby Harris, pretty solid too. So pretty solid options there in the 7th round. And then we're going to take a look at the whole draft here like we usually do. And it's just interesting to see. You see Jadeveon Clowney was the first pick as expected. And then you got 3 in a row. That's, a little yikes. Greg Robinson, again, they could have had Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. Crazy to think about. Blake Bortles 3rd. I was surprised by the pick at the time. And we know how that turned out. Sammy Watkins. I love Sammy Watkins coming out of Clemson. And that's just it's surprising that he didn't really turn out. Has a big opportunity this year with the Chiefs, obviously. And then Jake Matthews there after Khalil Mack. Mike Evans, great pick. Justin Gilbert. This was surprising, I remember, because the Vikings had pick 8 and the Browns had pick 9. I never agree with moving up one spot, especially I somewhat understand it if you're up here, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. But to do it, you go from 9 to 8 to get a corner, which everyone thought was going to be good. There was some technique issues on my end, and that kind of showed up, I guess, transitioning to the NFL. They trade up one spot, and then the Vikings gained picks and still got Anthony Barr. Pretty interesting. Eric Ebron, who looks good now. He was solid for the Lions. And Taylor Lewan was a great pick there. I thought he was going to go much earlier than that. I think he's one of the better tackles in football. And then you go to the top. Odell was a great pick, even though he's not with the Giants anymore. Aaron Donald, obviously the best pick. Kyle Fuller is an interesting one because he got that bust label. He got that bust label for the first 2, maybe even 3 years, even though the 3rd year was at the injured year. I mean, he started to play a little solid, but people still had it in their minds that he was a bust just because it seems to have him with corners for some reason. And now he one of the better corners last year, so we'll see if he keeps it up. Very cool to see a guy like that turning around. Ryan Shazier was a great pick, just unfortunate injury. Zack Martin, one of the better guards in all of football. C.J. Mosley, even though he's with the Jets, the next pick, it was a great pick, great player. And Calvin Pryor obviously did not work out. Wasn't a huge fan of him at the time. Juwan James, even though different team, great tackle, one of the better right tackles in football. Brandon Cooks, different team once again. Then Clinton-Dix was solid for the Packers for a little bit. Johnny Manziel obviously did not work out. And then we got D Ford. And a lot of guys that are good, but not with their team anymore. Denard has been a solid rotation guy. Has started some games too, but maybe hasn't lived up to it. Jason Verrett, one of the better corners if he's healthy. Marcus Smith didn't pan out too well. Buchanan. I can't believe Buchanan. I don't remember him being in this class. Kelvin Benjamin. Easily. Some of these guys haven't really worked out too well. Bridgewater was looking good until the unfortunate injury. Let's move on to the 2nd round. 2nd round, anybody that stands out besides the guys we did not mention. Demarcus Lawrence, Jarvis Landry. We mentioned Paul Richardson's pretty solid. Jeremy Hill's had Stephon Tuitt. I like Tuitt. Hill. Bitonio. Carlos Hyde, some good guys here. Trent Murphy, solid pass rusher for the Bills now. Derek Carr, forgot to mention Derek Carr. Timmy Jernigan. Oh yeah, he was drafted by the Ravens, now with the Eagles. Hageman I was high on. I think he had some off the field concern. I think he's making a comeback. I think I saw. So I was pretty high on him for a 2nd round guy. Off the field issues kept him out of football. Safarian Jenkins, some solid players. So the Jags actually got Marquise Lee and Allen Robinson. 39 and 61. Very interesting. They have one of them only, but 2 pretty solid receivers there. Jimmy G was drafted here. This is a pretty good round. LaMarcus Joyner, Davante Adams. Oh, I wish I would have mentioned Davante Adams when I was talking about the 2nd round. That's the interesting part of this, doing these videos. You just remember stuff. It's good to look back, Bishop Sankey, yikes. Titans got Luan in the first, Bishop Sankey in the second. Not good there, but good in the first round, not in the second. Third round, I mentioned Preston Brown, Billy Turner, John Brown, Gabe Jackson. Chris Borland was good. Concussions made him retire. He was a good undersized linebacker. Loved his game. Unfortunate. Morgan Moses, pretty solid. Moncrief's a solid player. Trey Turner. Not too much else. Oh, Christian Kirksey. Should have mentioned Christian Kirksey. He can definitely battle. He can definitely battle Preston Brown for that top spot. Christian Kirksey starting to play. I'd say now he's definitely the better player right now. Preston Brown has had some really good years, though. Definitely up there at the top of the NFL in tackles. So that's actually a battle. I wish I mentioned Kirksey with that group. Definitely can consider him. Jerick McKinnon's another good one. So, no huge name guys, but there's a lot of solid players here in the third round. A lot of guys from this draft are on different teams, though. And then moving on to the fourth round, we talked about Freeman and we talked about James White, 2 running backs. Anybody else there? Didn't notice that Brashard Breeland's a solid rotation corner. Martavis Bryant, if he can figure it out off the field, he had a couple good years. Yeah, not a whole bunch else here. Cassius Marsh, I like him. I think he's underrated. Ross Cockrell, pretty solid corner there. Daquan Jones, pretty solid. All right. Aaron Colvin, another solid one there. He's definitely up there, probably. I'd say he's second best player from this class. So we're learning more as we're going through this here. And then we're on to the fifth round. We talked about Telvin Smith and Avery Williamson, 2 linebackers. And we had 2 Florida State guys back-to-back who won the round. See if anybody else that catches my eye right now. This was an interesting one. I keep finding new people. Ricardo Allen. Aaron Lynch, solid rotation pass rusher. A.J. McCarron, solid backup quarterback. It's about it from that group right there. Round 6, talked about a few players. Tardif, Anunwa, and E.J. Gaines. See if anybody else stands out here. Alfred Blue, been a solid backup running back. Matt Paradis, I think right there with Tardif. I'd still give it to Tardif, though. We talked about Anunwa. We talked about Gaines. Where did he go? Gaines went 188 to the Rams. That's looking good for that. Matt Paradis stands out too. Yeah, pretty good round 6. Haven't had too many good round 6s recently. Round 7, talk about Andre Hall. Very solid option, defensive back. Unfortunate injury. Charles Leno wins the. Oh, there's TJ Carey. I liked his game last year with the Browns. Very solid, so he's definitely an honorable mention there. Shamar Stephen actually back on the Vikings. He was gone for just a year to Seattle. He's a key rotation guy for them. Shelby Harris. Anybody else? Bo Allen. Couple solid guys here. That's going to be it for the 7th round. So let me know your guys' thoughts. There's a lot of interesting ones. A lot of rounds where there's really no wrong answer. You could go a couple different ways there. That round 3, Christian Kirksey, Preston Brown, I'm almost starting to, second guess myself. I almost want to switch it because I think Kirksey's going to be better this year, but I think Preston Brown's had some really, really good years, so I'll stick with my pick. But interesting one there. But that's going to do it for the 2014 draft. We'll keep going on this. I want to NBA drafts next week, so I want to try to, make one more mock draft there for the NBA draft. So we'll keep on grinding these sports videos daily. Can't wait for the NFL season. We got our normal, if you were with us last year before, we got weekly picks with the boys. We got score predictions each week, recaps. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for the NFL season. We got you covered here at the Goat House, so please subscribe if you haven't quite yet. Appreciate everyone's support. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.